On June 17th, 2020, one of the biggest fluke scores in Osu's history was set, and is actually now a PP record with the new bounce changes. A hidden Nightcore near FC on Mo Likai. This score would blow up in popularity, and for a period of time, this player was the one to keep an eye out for, and is still heavily followed by many today. While this score was most definitely a fluke on the day it was set, future scores of theirs would start to replicate or come close to this caliber of skill much more often. This player is Eterna, or previously known as Marami. For those who aren't super up to date, Eterna is an Osu player from Canada that holds a respectable amount of time on the game, as they've been playing on and off since 2015. Just in the last year alone though, he's surged in popularity, especially when his video titled Technique sporadically garnered over 3 million views in 2020, where he's breezing through 330 BPM bursts. Throughout 2020, he was definitely setting some good scores here and there, but his Mo Likai hidden Nightcore 1 miss was what really managed to attract the eyes of many spectators. Riding off the momentum of one of the best scores in the entire game, he started focusing on maps with a very strict emphasis on fast streams, and broke the 1k PB barrier 3 times in 1 week. He has solidified himself extremely fast as one of the most physically daunting players in the game, and is currently sitting at number 3 on the leaderboards. The PP system has also gotten a new revision as of very recently, albeit still pointless in my opinion since they still haven't gotten rid of combo scoring or changed their star rating algorithm, but we'll save that for another video. So let's go under the assumption that this PP system change is the only thing that's going to change for the next few years. This PP system change makes Eterna's scores stand out much more than before now, and he's shown no signs of slowing down anytime soon as a player too. With multiple signs pointing towards potential 1300 and 1400 PP scores, this is where I want to start a discussion. Before I even say anything, let me start by noting that nothing I'm going to say here is meant to diminish or elevate Eterna's scores, and I'm going to try my best to nuance my points moving forward. Here are my main 2 questions. Is Eterna going to break the PP system as time goes on, and are his scores as good as we think? For me, it's yes and no. And before you comment, let me explain. So obviously Eterna's scores are some of the best scores we've seen in this game's history, but the main dilemma here is, are his scores worth as much as we think? I'm not talking about a 300 PP nerf or anything, I'm saying something along the lines of anywhere from 50 to 150 PP, just so you all have a visual. When you're creating something like a performance points and star rating system, the people behind said systems must have a strong fundamental understanding of difficulty in their game for it to be implemented properly. The issue with this is that we don't really have a lot of data to support how good exactly Eterna's scores are, thus it's more difficult to properly measure these scores as values. There's no doubt that Eterna holds some top-of-the-line scores, but have we really seen any other players successfully replicate a portion of these scores, or better yet, take the time to develop such a skill set? Sure, there's a few stream players that have shown their ability to some degree, but definitely not to Eterna's. It's also just not a popular playstyle, so we have even less players to compare to when trying to assess how difficult something is in this regard. When I say Eterna is close to 1300, 1400 PP tier scores, I mean we're within a few months to a year of seeing a decent amount of these potentially happening, which is impressive, but has me feeling at the very least somewhat skeptical. Allow me to bring up an example from the game I play, Eterna. Atong was the strongest player in all of 4K during his most active years. He had virtually infinite stamina, was very fast, and even had stellar accuracy on top of that. There was one thing he really excelled at though, and those were chord jacks, which are very repetitive strings of chord-like patterns that pretty much never end, and his skill ceiling was beyond what anyone could do. At the time, the difficulty calculator had these rated very high on average, and Atong was getting 36s like it was his day job, which compared to most skill sets on average, was quite large. I mean, I was even getting some 34s and 35s at some points, and I wasn't even a chord jack player. At first, there was a decent chance that some of these could be as highly rated as we thought, but after a couple of years, lots of other chord jack players came out of the woodwork, and they helped me to accurately rate chord jacks better, so the calculator properly represented this skill set's difficulty, and we now have a better understanding of how this skill set should be measured than before. During Atong's reign, there weren't many players at all who focused on chord jacks for as long as Atong did. So until we had players that did, we weren't properly able to assess how difficult this skill set was on a relative term, so now that we do, future adjustments will be much easier and more representative of its true difficulty. That's all I really wanted to bring up on this topic. It's been a question that's been kind of rattling in my head for a while now, so I figured I'd relay it to you all in this video. Do you think Eterna scores are as worth as much as the PP system says on a relative scale? Or do you think this skill set isn't explored enough and that it's only a matter of time before people begin to farm streams at this level? Obviously people are going to try and circumvent performance point systems no matter what, but I think this skill set in particular proposes a unique situation. I think Eterna is one of the most impressive and refreshing players we've seen in this game in quite some time, as I really think he's redefining what speed truly means in this game and is setting the bar very high for anyone who thinks to challenge him. However, due to how niche parts of his skill set are, I find it difficult to believe that these scores are as accurately represented on the PP system as we think at the moment. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting the channel, and if you'd like to support the channel for more rhythm gaming content like this, feel free to check out my Patreon, drop a sub if you're new here, and check out my other links below. I'll see you on whatever video I upload next, and take care.